You are Locked On Tigers POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Detroit on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, how about that for some exciting baseball on a Saturday evening? Welcome into this live Locked On Tigers postcast. I am your host, Jake Riepma, fired up to be with you, formerly with 97.1 The Ticket, the flagship, now with Locked On Tigers and Locked On Tigers postcast. You can follow me on Twitter or unfollow me at Jake_Riepma. And a breath of fresh air at Comerica Park tonight. The offense comes alive late, and it did get a little dicey there in that ninth inning. You enter with the 3-run lead and win it by 1, but a win is a win is a win is a win. And after a brief 2-game losing streak there, it was nice for the Tigers to get back in the win column with a 6-5 win. We'll break this one down, talk about that offense coming alive late in the 7th inning, but more shaky defense. 4 errors from the Tigers in this one. We'll talk about where it went wrong. And Casey Mize, another nice start for him. All said, it's a 6-5 win for the Tigers. So buckle up, dial it in, lock in, however you want to put it. We are here with you for the next half hour. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers postcast your first listen every single day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts on and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode also made part by FanDuel, and we got to remind you, with FanDuel, you got to make every moment more. That's right. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150. Win or lose, all you got to do is visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in to this live edition. If you're catching us on the YouTube stream, don't forget to subscribe to Locked On Sports Detroit. We'll be doing this after Tigers games when football season comes around. If you're watching on YouTube, you see my Lions hat on, fired up about the draft. We'll be doing Locked On Lions postcasts as well. And of course, into hoop season with Locked On Pistons postcasts, all about that instant reaction immediately following the conclusion of the game. We're hopping on YouTube and we are breaking it down. So let's do exactly that, because for the first 6 innings of this one, I was making note after note after note. The offense is terrible. It's impossible to watch. 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position at one point. And I was having a conversation with a buddy the other day saying it's April, and I feel like I'm talking about this offense in the same exact way over and over again. And to that point, you could also say, hey, this is who the Tigers offense is, who they are. They come alive late when they are at their best. And that's what we saw here this evening against the Kansas City Royals on Dan Dickerson bobblehead night. I also jotted that down in my notes, that what a guy, Dan Dickerson. I mean, if you've grown up on Tigers baseball, depending on how old you are, I'm 31, and that's the voice of my childhood, Dan Dickerson. I can vaguely remember Ernie Harwell. In fact, I tell people this all the time. When I was a kid, I would sneak a radio into my bedroom at night to listen to Tigers games. And at that time, it was Ernie Harwell, and it was towards the end of his career. And I just remember thinking, that's the coolest job in the entire world. You get to announce the baseball game. And again, I tell anybody that asks, that kind of served as the moment I knew I wanted to get into sports broadcasting, was listening to Ernie Harwell, and then the passing of the torch to Dan Dickerson. All of the iconic calls and moments from Dan Dickerson over the last 25 years. Really neat to see. His kids flew in to surprise him throughout the first pitch. You could tell that meant so much to him, and just a first-class guy in Dan Dickerson. And he had his moment tonight that he deserves, quite frankly. And again, the bobblehead was awesome. It's a talking bobblehead. If anybody was at Comerica Park and they happened to get that bobblehead, I would probably pay top dollar for that. But we can talk about that offline, as they say. But really neat for Dan Dickerson, 25 years broadcasting Tigers games, and a memorable night for him in a lot of ways, and fitting that the Tigers were able to put the bats together in the 7th inning to eventually propel themselves to the victory over the Royals 6-5. And again, I mentioned it in the opening, but kind of a much needed victory after, you were playing some really good baseball, won a couple of series, but then all of a sudden 2 bad losses in a row. But want to thank everybody for tuning in. We got some people checking in on the YouTube stream. Yes, Tiger Cam 05 says Dan Dickerson is the GOAT. Completely agree. And again, if anybody was down at the ballpark with one of those bobbleheads, I A, envy you, and B, would be willing to negotiate a favorable deal for you to get one of those. I think it would look good. Let me try that again. It would look good behind me on the bobbleheads that we've got going there in the background of our home studio here. So that said, Tigers get the win. Big win with the offense coming alive late. And let's go to that 7th inning, because leading up to that, I mentioned the 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position. And as a team, they finished 3 for 13, which isn't exactly great. And I'm looking more on Spencer Torkelson in a moment, but he was 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position. Wenzel Perez, 0 for 2. Javi Baez, 0 for 1. And then we start to get into the guys that made the difference in that 7th inning. You get a leadoff walk from Jake Rogers, who hasn't hit the ball particularly well up until this point in the season, but getting on base, the old Moneyball thing, get on base, start the inning with a lead-off walk. That's one way to do it. Riley Green then with a single. You got 2 on, nobody out. And finally, the Tigers come through with their first hit with runner in scoring position. It's steady Mark Canha. I'm running out of ways to describe Mark Canha, because when you talk about a guy who is really up and down that lineup, the only guy, maybe Riley Green too, we'll put Riley Green in that list, but a guy that you can point to and say, here's somebody I count on, here's somebody I have faith in when they have the bat in their hand in a big spot. And tonight I thought was fitting in a game that your first 7 batters are hitless with runners in scoring position. Mark Canha walks up to the plate, and it's nothing fancy, it's nothing flashy, but it's an RBI single to get the monkey off the bat in terms of finally delivering with runners in scoring position. And just like bad hitting is contagious, good hitting is contagious, because the next batter, Perez, yes, it was a long out, but when that ball left the bat deep to right field, I for sure thought it was gone. But on the broadcast, they talked about it quite a bit, kind of a windier night in the Motor City. So the wind hangs it up there, and Hunter Renfroe makes a nice catch at the wall. But that advanced one of the runners to third, allowing Kerry Carpenter to single home the run to tie the game at 3. And then the biggest at bat of the night. I mean, Matt Vierling absolutely annihilated that ball on a frozen rope line drive out to left field. And I think you guys probably know by now, if you've tuned into a show or two, I'm not the biggest analytical statistic guy, exit velo. I know it's a big talking point in the game now, and swing path and everything else, but Matt Vierling looked like a hitter in that at bat, and he crushed that ball, did just enough to get it out over the bullpen fence there in left field. And finally, I feel like every home run the Tigers ever hit is a solo shot, or at best a 2-run shot. But finally, again, the good hitting became contagious, because Mark Canha gets the RBI single, Kerry Carpenter RBI single. And it's not like it was the usual lack of offense from the Tigers where they just don't even have runners on base. I mean, all night, I felt like they had Brady Singer, the starter for the Royals, on the ropes, but we're just waiting for that clutch hit. And credit to AJ Hinch too. I mentioned this, or I jotted this down in my notes, that in the 6th inning, the Royals brought in Zerpa, the lefty, and immediately AJ Hinch brought Matt Vierling in for McKinstry to get that lefty versus righty matchup. And in that first at-bat, it wasn't a big deal, but the next time through for Matt Vierling, and again, it wasn't a lefty versus righty matchup, because he hit the 7th inning home run off of Chris Stratton. And yes, again, I don't want to just say, oh, it was AJ Hinch all the way, but that was a significant move by AJ Hinch to get Matt Vierling in the game, and it really, really paid off with that game-winning go-ahead 3-run homer. And it turns out the Tigers needed all 3 runs, because Foley wasn't his usual shutdown self in the 9th. But if Foley's going to give up 2 runs in a game, and it happens to come when the Tigers are up 3, hey, I think he's too good to consistently give up 2 runs out of the bullpen in that closing situation. So So really good stuff. And really, really excited to see the Tigers back in the win column. Connection a little unstable right now, so hang with me here as we power through some of the old internet shortcomings, but we'll power through that. Hang with me if the stream's dying on you for a second there. Give it the old refresh, and we'll be good to go. I see those bars coming up. But Tigers get the win 6-3, and now it'll be a rubber match of the series and another chance to win a third consecutive series. That's what we talk about with this team. Start stockpiling series. They won the series against the Twins, won the series against Tampa Bay, and now after a really bad start in game one of the series, kind of an embarrassing game at that, you come back strong on the Saturday. You get the win 6-5. And if I said 6-3, my apologies. My screen, for whatever reason, wasn't refreshing. But there we go. 6-5 was the win, or was the final in this one, and the Tigers get the win. We're going to break down Casey Mize's start and wrap it up with the defense and their inability to, for whatever reason, play sound baseball, because at times they're one of the best defenses in all of baseball by defensive efficiency, but it's another 4-error game. And just saying that out loud is like vinegar coming out of my mouth. So we'll break that down. Don't go anywhere. Locked On Tigers postcast continues after this. Today's show brought to you by DoorDash. That's right. Mother's Day's coming right up. It's a big day. Make it as special as mom is with something special from DoorDash. You want to make mom smile? Of course you do. Moms are so important. So start Mother's Day with flowers, or even surprise her with gifts from the brands she loves, delivered the very same day with DoorDash. They make it easy on you because, you know what, guys? Moms are a gift. So give her the best this Mother's Day. Get gifts as thoughtful as she is with DoorDash. Select from hundreds of expertly crafted bouquets if flowers are her thing, or maybe she's more into the tech side of things. How about some self-care products? All of that available on DoorDash and so much more. And you know the way it works with DoorDash, delivered right to her door, and that'll bring a big smile to your mom's face, which is so important on Mother's Day. So get all your Mother's Day gifts all in one place. Get 50% off your next order and up to $15 when you spend $15 or more on your next flower, convenience, grocery store item, retail order, now with code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB. Order using DoorDash today. Terms do apply, but get mom what she wants all in one place. 50% off your next order, up to $15 when you spend $15 or more for mom. Make Mother's Day as special as mom using DoorDash. All right, Casey Mize breakdown time. I thought if I'm a starting pitcher for the Tigers, between the errors, the lack of offense, and at times I'd be throwing my hands up. And Dan Dickerson has the way of helping me feel, and it's Benetti, it's Dan Dickerson, it's both of them. They have the sense of the big picture here that this Tigers defense, despite a lot of the errors as of late, the defensive efficiency measures, Dan Dickerson talked about it breaking even today, which makes sense, meaning they're going to make some plays that keep runs off the board. But at the end of the day, when you look down at the box score and you see 4 errors, that's just extremely, extremely frustrating. I thought Casey Mize deserved better than what he was rewarded with tonight. 5 innings pitched, allows 3 total runs, 2 of them earned. So the one unearned run, did not walk a batter, struck out 2, and really didn't throw a lot of pitches, just 87 pitches, 57 of them for strikes. And when Casey Mize is facing the opposition and forced to continuously make long innings or a lot of pitches and get multiple 4-out innings because of all the errors, you know, you're really putting your pitcher behind the 8 ball. And there was an error from everybody in the infield at one point besides Colt Keith. There was an error from McKinstry at third, obviously error by Javi Baez, 2 of them on the game. He had the throwing error later, and then the error by Torkelson as well. And again, if you're Casey Mize, there's only so much you can do to buckle down, put the blinders on, just worry about getting outs, getting the hitter. It's got to factor into the psyche of the pitching staff, not just is Casey Mize tonight, but whoever takes the ball for the Tigers, knowing that, hey, you got to shut down the opposition because your offense probably isn't going to do much, and you got to do it with the potential of a lot of errors being made behind you. I mean, that's just a daunting task for any pitcher, let alone, Cy Young caliber pitcher or not. And I'm not saying Casey Mize is that, but again, on a game you make 4 errors, you're going to allow some unearned runs. It's a tough uphill battle for the pitcher. Now, let's talk about the bullpen for a little bit. And before we close the book on Mize, I do think it's a start that you're encouraged by. And as he continues to stockpile innings, I don't want to go out and say and declare him here at the end of April that he's all the way back and say there's nothing to worry about, because obviously it's a start by start measuring stick. But as of late, I think Casey Mize looks like the former first round draft pick and the former one of one kind of guy that you invested in. And I've said that several times after a number of his starts this season. So tonight wasn't meant to be with how poorly the defense played behind him. But at the same time, what do we always say? Give your team a chance to win. And that's what we saw from Casey Mize tonight. He battled out there through the 5 innings. Now for the bullpen, I like what we're seeing from Faedo. I think he had a nice bounce back or a couple of outings where he bounced back when he struggled a little bit in the Tampa series, but 2 strong innings from him, did not give up a run. And he's actually the pitcher of record tonight, gets the win, now 2-1 on the season. But he attacked the strike zone, 17 strikes out of 26 total pitches, did a nice job in relief there. And kind of, again, you felt like with this Tigers offense, they had a lot of runners on base throughout the course of the first 6 innings, just waiting to break through. And for Faedo to come in there and pitch the 6th and 7th to, just continue to give this Tigers team a chance to win and the offense to break through, that was a big key to the victory here tonight with Alex Faedo. And then Chafin gets the hold, his 3rd of the season, pitched the 8th inning, and then it got a little dicey in the 9th with Foley there, but he still earns his 8th save despite giving up the 2 runs, 3 hits, and eventually, that last out even was a long fly ball, but hey, we'll take it. And again, Foley, yes, he didn't have his best stuff tonight, but at the end of the day, it's his 8th save of the season. And AJ Hinch doesn't like to talk about closers. We know all that. But that said, I think Jason Foley has established himself as the closer of this team. And AJ Hinch says, you'll know who my closer is by my actions. So I guess if that's our way, if that's how we have to get to this long-winded, circular, whatever conversation and rationale and thought process of who the Tigers closer is, then so be it. But Jason Foley gives up the 2 runs, and fortunately he had the 3-run cushion, so the Tigers still get the win. With that, Tigers move to 15-12. They are 5-8 at home. Kansas City 17-11. And I think the Royals deserve a lot of credit because, and it's still early, it's April. We'll see how it all plays out. But this is not the laughable losing Royals that we've gotten used to see it. And I'm not saying they're all the way back to when they were making those World Series runs, but you look at the lineup 1 through 9, you look at the pitching staff, the way they play defense, and kind of have some similar characteristics to the Tigers where they're going to play good defense, and not lately for the Tigers, but the thought being that's how we're making this team, good pitching, and we're going to grind out some wins. So it's going to be a battle in the AL Central. At least it appears that way, which is so funny because me included, leading up to the beginning of this season, it was all the AL Central is going to be terrible. We just got to find a way to survive and advance and stay relevant because, at the end of the day, it's the AL Central. But, you look at what Cleveland's done, Kansas City, and even Detroit for that matter. It certainly has not been the laughing stock of the American League like a lot of people thought it would be in the first month of the season. So anytime you can get a win and have a chance to go for a series, obviously we will take that. 6-5 the final in this one. And tomorrow, the final game of the 3-game series, we will break that one down in a moment, as well as discuss how bad that defense was and whether or not you are concerned, because I, for one, am a little bit concerned with some of the holes in the defense. Don't go anywhere. That comes up next. Today's show brought to you by FanDuel. That's right, it's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball is also in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's just for signing up. That's all you got to do. That's $150, win or lose. So if you're a terrible bettor, not to worry. It's $150, win or lose. You can bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. I was watching a little hockey earlier today. Fun to get some hockey bets in on the ticket as well. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. And hey, if you're watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day, you might have to turn the volume down with all that shouting, right? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screamings. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, we wrap it up with the deeper dive in how bad that defense was. Errors by the entire infield, with the exception of Colt Keith at second base. 2 errors by Javi Baez, one of them a throwing error later in the game that fortunately Chafin was able to pitch around. Spencer Torkelson with another error today, and McKinstry at third before Vierling. Thank goodness Vierling came into the game for McKinstry. But all told, a concerning amount of errors being made by this Tigers defense, and it's a dangerous way to live if you're the Tigers, as far as what they've done in their last 15 games. And today it's a 4-error game. We know about the 3-error games that happen kind of almost consistently, but 16 errors in their last 10 games. The 16 errors is more than 12 teams in the entire major leagues have in total. Think about that. So 12 teams don't have as many errors as the Tigers have made in their last 10 games. And leading up to the first 17 games, the defense was really good. Just 5 total errors. And it's kind of the yin and the yang back and forth, if you will, because this team makes some errors, and then you've got Riley Green making incredible catches in left field, saving base runners by his excellent defense. And tonight it was Riley Green, but again, that is what this defense has been at times, where they'll make the spectacular play, but yet the routine ground ball somehow it finds its way through and it's an error, or there's a throwing error, but then again, the defense will make some kind of miraculous play. So I don't know what to make of it, heads or tails, how we feel about the defense. Let me know what you think down in the comments. How concerned are you with this defense and their shortcomings as of late? Because it's not sustainable. The Tigers shouldn't have won this game. You could look at it. It's a game you made 4 errors. You were 0 for 7 at one point with runners in scoring position. All told, as a team, the Tigers with runners in scoring position were 3 for 13. So again, some late inning magic, if you will, that helped Matt Vierling, Mark Canha, and Kerry Carpenter. Without them, you don't win this game, especially Matt Vierling, obviously. But this is not the recipe for success in any measure. It's one of those, if you were doing a film session after this game, there would be more yelling or negativity, if you will, or pointing out the instances in which the Tigers were not good than there would be praising the effort in winning this game. So let me know your concern level, because I've elevated mine from, kind of intermittent, maybe a 4 or a 5, thinking this will pass, to now all of a sudden I'm getting closer to a 7 out of 10, where, I think if this type of repeated these type of mistakes continue to happen, then it's going to be something needs to change. And I think you look at a guy like Spencer Torkelson. I put this down in my notes between what he's doing at the plate and how badly he's struggling. Another game in which he was really bad, 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position. And all told, Torkelson was 0 for 4 on the day. Throw it with 2 Ks, throw in an error, and he's almost like playing himself out of time in the lineup. He's a guy you can't keep putting into the lineup if this is the type of effort that he's going, or the type of shortcomings he's going to have game in and game out on a consistent level. I mean, the hitting is bad, the fielding is bad. I think Torque needs a day off tomorrow, get his head right, because he is in a world of hurt at the plate, and it's trickling down to his defense. And this is a guy that came in this season that they were high on the improvements he had made defensively at the first base position, but as of late, he's been contributing to those errors defensively in the field. So he's kind of a guy that, based on the production last year, especially in the second half, I mean, you look at the numbers from last year, 31 home runs, the power numbers were there, the slugging percentage was there, all of that was there, especially with how strong he came on late. So you don't want to give up on the guy, but you do want to try to figure out a way for him to get right mentally, for him to get back to that guy that we saw last year. And what does that look like? Is it a full call down to AAA? Is it a couple of days off here? I really am curious what the Tigers' approach will be to Spencer Torkelson, because right now he's a guy that's hurting this team, especially with where he bats in the lineup. And I think AJ Hinch and company are good about finding kind of ways to, cope with players' struggles. Obviously, we saw how much Colt Keith has struggled as of late. He got a day off. Parker Meadows was not in the lineup today. So there's enough depth on this team, or enough players that kind of can be similar and, to where you can afford to mix and match some lineups. I mean, that's been one of the many calling cards of this Tigers team is, hey, look at all the different ways we can field a lineup with 9 guys and the versatility that we have. So I think Spencer Torkelson might see some diminished playing time here in the next couple of days, because he has really, really taken a significant step back. But I don't want to just harp on the negatives, because again, Riley Green made some really outstanding plays defensively. Matt Vierling had an inning where he made 3 solid plays. And in the end, I guess, like we said at the beginning, a win is a win is a win, even if it is a little bit ugly. So we will take it. But let me know what you think in the comments. We got some people tuning in on the YouTube stream. Tigers get the win 6-5. We'll get ready for the series finale tomorrow against the Royals at Comerica Park. And with it being the rubber match, it'll be fun to see Tarek Skubal go as the Tigers starter for that Sunday game against Michael Wacha for the Royals. So Tarek Skubal on the bump for the Tigers. He's 3-0, 1.82 ERA, 35 strikeouts. Michael Wacha on the bump for the Royals, 1-2, 3.81 ERA. First pitch comes your way at 1:40. So don't forget the Sunday games are a little bit later. We'll be right on the air immediately following the conclusion of that one. So make sure you tune in. And if you haven't yet, tell a Tiger friend or a friend that's a Tigers fan about our Locked On Tigers postcast. Get in on the action. Send me your comments. I love reading the comments on the YouTube. I love interacting with Tigers fans on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at Jake_Riepma. And it's a 162 game season. So we're going to have a lot to talk about. We're going to keep the action going day in and day out. And again, subscribing to Locked On Sports Detroit doesn't cost you a thing. So thanks so much for tuning in. Shout out to Tiger Cam 05 and Sonny Verma, my guy. Appreciate you checking in on the YouTube stream as well. Tigers get the win over the Royals 6-5. We've got a rubber match tomorrow from Comerica Park. First pitch 1:40. Tarek Skubal for the Tigers, Michael Wacha for the Royals. And until then, have a wonderful evening, and we will see you immediately following tomorrow's rubber match game. And until then, have a great night. Talk to you next time on Locked On Tigers Postcast.